Hello, Unity devs. This is Chris from Ghost Crab Games, and I'm going over a little script here that I created that might help out the Unity dev community, specifically 2D designers and developers, because I realize there's a bit of a workflow issue present with Unity in creating 2D games. So this kind of assumes you already know how 2D games work in Unity, how Unity works in general, how 2D is just sprite renders and quads floating in a 3D space, how there's an orthographic camera, and how items are being rendered based on their z-index in relation to the camera. So you see here we have a red sprite with a z-index of 1, green sprite being rendered behind it with a z-index of 2, and a blue sprite being rendered in front of both of those with a z-index of -1 because it's closer to the camera. This also assumes you're not using the sorting layer method and orders in those layers for determining what's being rendered in front of what. Uh, Using sorting layers is certainly a powerful tool that's great in certain circumstances. I think it's a bit cumbersome for general use for the entire scene, um, but it will override what I'm doing here. So what I do have here is something I'm currently calling hierarchy to layers. And if there's a better name for that, please let me know. A more accurate name, maybe. But so what this does is it uses the Unity hierarchy to now determine the order in which objects are rendered in a scene. Um, so we have here the red, green, blue, and so on. They all have different values for the z-index, and they're being rendered in kind of an out-of-place order. So on the root item, we have my hierarchy to layers script with a couple options here that I'll go over in a second, and a button to sort child objects. So when you click the sort child objects button, boom, we now have, based on the z-index value or the z value of the parent object, the children are now sorted. So you have a red with 0.0001, green with 0.0002, and so on down the line. So what just happened was this script set the z values of the children so that they're now being rendered in the order that they're listed here in the hierarchy. So the hierarchy, instead of just being a loose collection of objects and child objects in the scene, now has a functional purpose in development. So you can immediately look at this hierarchy and know exactly the order in which things are being rendered in a scene, because everyone knows in a 2D game, you want to make sure that items are not being rendered on the same plane, or else you're going to have z-axis fighting, you're going to have all kinds of sprite flickering and such like that, and that's a messy business. You don't want that. And this also kind of lets you, without knowing where items are in the scene, so if green is, way over here, I can just look at this hierarchy and know that red's always going to be rendered in front of green, which I think is a pretty powerful thing. So let me go through the options a little bit in detail. By default, the script only sorts child objects that have a component that's either a sprite render or a text mesh. These are both two-dimensional objects that are used quite often in 2D games. If there are other uh, components that should be sorted as well, along with sprite renders and text meshes, please let me know. I'm basically doing this video before I release the script, looking for some feedback on what it does. The second option, I'm sorry. So what sort all game objects does, it'll if you have this checked, is it'll sort all objects, all child objects, regardless of if they have those 2D components or not. By default, it's off. The layer distance is the value in which every next child is sorted. So it's so right now we have it set by default to 1/10,000th of a Unity unit. So you can set this to whatever you want. You could have it be an entire solid number of 1. You can make it even smaller if you want. That's entirely up to you. And then the last option here is the ignore list, which works. I'll show you right now. All you need to do is drag any item that you want ignored from the script to the ignore list. And I'll set this z value to like a -3, so it's in front of things, just to show you how it works. If I now click the sort child objects, it'll still do it to all the objects except for yellow, which is on the ignore list. It'll just completely bypass that one. So, yeah, I mean, I think this can be pretty powerful, fairly useful. It's also fairly simple. Um, Also in the demo here, I just have an unsorted list of objects here again, showing a bit of a hierarchy, how there can be child objects and such like that, how it can get kind of messy with, child objects are obviously their values here in the editor are local values, so they're relative to the position of the parent object. But you can have children that are being rendered in front of the parent by having negative values that make them closer to the camera. Here in my sample messy pile of colored sprites, we have a group of objects with a child set here, orange, with yellow and cyan being children of orange, above blue and purple. Now, if we were to click the Sort Child Objects button, you'll see this change, and boom. So now they are being rendered with red in front, green behind red, and then orange, which is above blue and purple because it's higher in the hierarchy, with the children of orange also being rendered above blue and purple because they are higher in that. So the children of an object are also going to be rendered in front of any objects that are farther down in the hierarchy. Now, if we were to set blue as a child of yellow, for example, and we go back here and click Sort Child Objects, we'll now see that blue will be rendered in front of both cyan and purple. So there you go. This is a simple little script that'll hopefully make the lives of 2D developers a little easier. If you have any questions, please hit me up on Twitter, comment on this YouTube video. I'll be posting this in a couple different places. I'm just looking for some feedback. Maybe my naming's a bit wrong, or maybe there's some more features you'd like to see. Maybe things can be a little bit easier to use. Hey, sorry about that, folks. I had a bit of a technical issue there. The video recorder crashed. So to wrap this up, I just want to show that you can have multiple 2D roots, each with their own hierarchy to layers script attached to them that operate independently from each other. And if you want, you can even have hierarchy to layer scripts as children to a root, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not quite sure why you would do that. But please give me feedback in any way you can. Hit me up on Twitter, comment on my YouTube channel. There you go. Have a good day, and hope this helps.